So before I begin, I have to apologize. The art you are about to see is very, 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 very bad. So bear with me on that. Also, I mean, like the speech I'm going to give is sort of just a summary of what I was originally trying to do, because I mean, like it's really hard to fit a bunch of stuff in 8 minutes. So with that said, here we go. I'm giving a speech on storytelling. There we go. Got it. So, well then, what is it? In this speech, I will give you a purpose for, a general definition, etc., about storytelling, just introduce you to the concept. I will also, well, we'll talk about how old it is really, give you some early examples, etc., blah, blah, blah. And then finally, we'll go review, I present, Alright, so basically, I'll just tell you about storytelling today, the different types, media, and changes, just things like that. So, what is storytelling? Ooh, not good. Good. Wait. So, what's storytelling? Well, I looked up in a dictionary, in Webster Dictionary, 2000 edition, that the storyteller is a reciter of tales or letter of anecdotes. In other words, he just tells stories. Then I thought about it a little bit more and be like, so what? I mean, well, what is storytelling in our society really? I mean, storytelling is very important. I mean, like, if you think about it, I mean, it comes up often, like when we watch TV, go to the movies, read books, just have conversations about what you did last weekend. Storytelling is important. So, how old is it really? Is it just like middle age? Is it just like it's been around for a while but not too long? Or is it really old? The answer is really old. It's about as old as us. I mean, depending on whatever views you have, whether you're you believe in Genesis and the world's only like 8,000 years old, or whether you believe in the more scientific theory that the Earth's like millions or billions of years old, it's been around since near the beginning. Examples, let's see. Well, there's the Inuit tribe in the Arctic. I think they have this story about a sea goddess. Let's see how that go. Well, anyways, what they did is they were traveling on these boats one day. I feel like sort of because like they were looking for food and they were striving, and so there wasn't enough room for everyone on the boat. So they tossed this little girl who had no family overboard, and she grabbed on. So they cut off her fingers, and so she fell into the ocean, and then she became a sea goddess, and her fingers became all the animals of the sea. And she basically became some big deity. Enough said about that. Well, anyways, storytelling has also been around in many different cultures for a long time. A big example was the Machiguinga tribe, which exists in Peru. I read about it in a book called The Storyteller by Mario Vargas Llosas. And anyways, basically, they passed on all their traditions orally through these different stories. Stories about creationism, various moral stories where they tell you how to do things and not how to do things. Moving on. So, storytelling today, or maybe more accurately the last 100 years or so. Lots has changed. With the advent of electricity, like different types of media, video cameras, the internet and stuff, a lot has changed. There's many new ways to present stories that we couldn't have before. First one I want to talk about is film. I mean, I think everyone is familiar with what films are. I mean, we've all seen a movie. I mean, like, think of a movie like The Hangover, such like that, or I Love You, Man. I mean, film has been around for, I would say, 80 years or so, back to the old days of Charlie Chaplin and such. And they play an important part in society. A lot of the pop culture and stuff, a lot of references, a lot of like jokes and stuff that people have come from these films, like in the movie The Hangover. I mean, there's like, you know, it's not a purse, it's a satchel, or like there's Skittles in there, or there's a tiger in the bathroom. We're all familiar with that, right? Moving on. Very closely related is television. I mean, we all watch, well, we've all heard of TV at least. I don't know necessarily nowadays. I mean, I've heard of people who don't necessarily have TV. Sometimes they'll watch television shows that they took an interest in on the internet. More or less, we've all seen TV shows. Very similar. I mean, like, the main difference, I suppose, is more episodic in nature. And I suppose you can watch, like, it'll last way, way longer than film. A film will get completed in 6 months or so. You see it once. Very seldom will you see like series or things like that. So in television, there are things that exist like recurring gags, like in The Simpsons, like when that guy, Homer Simpson, I believe his name is, he chokes his son and he strangles him, a recurring joke. Or in Family Guy, where they kind of like just seemingly disregard one of the characters named Meg. She's basically just nobody to them. They'll insult and berate her, and basically, she practically doesn't exist. Moving on, the internet. Closely related to everything nowadays. I don't want to go over it too much, but the internet is kind of important because it's a new means of like accessing information that we haven't had before. I mean, we could find TV shows, music, and all that kind of stuff. So it's a very important means of accessing these stories. So I move on to blogs. Yeah, I couldn't think of a picture for blogs. But blogs are just like written journals, but like presented on the internet. So basically someone could write something in Japan or in India, and you could access it 2 seconds after it's posted. So really quick means of accessing information that we didn't have before. Okay. So we've talked about, I give you a general definition of what storytelling is, hopefully. Give you an introduction to how old it is, maybe you'll go and research it more, and the various means of how we present it today. I kind of hope that what I gave you, even though maybe it was not too detailed, was a very good introduction, so if you find interest in the subject, you can go out and look for it yourselves. The end.